Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to Virtual Junior Ranger Program. We have one starting to join us. That is super awesome. Super excited. Hey, do me a favor. If you can hear me, can you raise a virtual hand, please? Excellent. Right. So we are a little bit early, which means we'll just get a few moments for other folks in. So you should see on the screen an image of our program advertisement. So it's the Game of Survival, the program we'll be doing today. And if you just back, other folks to join us. Welcome everybody to our virtual junior ranger program with California State Parks. We are still waiting for some participants to join us. It's not quite 10:30 yet, but well, you just early. I appreciate you logging in early and getting ready to go. So how about this? For those of you who are already logged in, you where you're from, and then you can raise your hand if I mention where you're from. So for example, who in the audience is from California? 21, 24, 25, 26. All three of you are from California. So from California, you can do a California state for. And I wonder what your favorite one is. Okay, now who is from a state that's different than California? Another state. Is there anyone from another state? 4, 5 of you. Awesome. Well, I'm so excited that you're joining us from another state. That's so cool. I put on the advertisement that this is 10:30 a.m. California. All right, who is from a country? Is there anyone from another country besides the United States? I see hands going down, so maybe not. 4 of you, 5 of you, maybe. Cool. We already have over 120 people on our webinar today, so I'm about ready to get started. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Now I'm going to flip the camera so you guys can see me. Surprise! Well, let me just fix my hair, y'all. How do I look? Well, welcome to Sugar Pine Point State Park in the beautiful state of California. My name is Stephanie Ambrosia, and I work for California State Parks. And I'm so excited that you are joining us virtually. So I'm going to tell you guys something. California State Parks has been doing junior ranger programs for a long time. But because of what has happened recently, and for example, all of you were not able to stay in school, you had to go home, you had to learn virtually, we decided, hey, why don't we try to offer some junior ranger programs virtually this summer? So welcome to this great experiment. We are figuring things out, so we appreciate you trying it out with us. And today our program is called The Game of Survival. So you might have noticed on the advertisement that there was a picture of an animal, and that is an animal that you can find here in the area that I am right now. So the area that I'm in is way up high in the mountains, in the Sierra Mountains, the Sierra Nevada mountains. And the animal that was on the advertisement for this program is a bobcat. And you can find bobcats here in the mountains, and we will talk a little bit more about them today because we're going to talk all about predator and prey animals that you can find here in these mountains and how they can either win or lose the game of survival. So I want you to think about a game that you have played recently. You guys, I think I need to clean my camera, sorry. What's a game that you have played recently that you either won or you lost? Like maybe it was a video game. Did you win a video game recently, or did you lose a card game recently? I was talking to some junior rangers in person the other day, and they said they won a Monopoly game. I'm like, wow, that would take a really long, you gotta persevere to win Monopoly. It would take like 2 or 3 hours. So think of a game that you have won or lost recently, because we are going to talk about the game of survival today. Have you ever heard that word before, survival? Do you know what it means? Think about it. What does it mean to survive? To stay alive, to stay alive. So that is one thing that animals do, right? They just try to stay alive. Humans, we have life a little bit easier. For the most part, we have the things we need in our homes. We can do other things like play games. We don't have to worry about survival nearly as much as animals do. But animals on a daily basis are trying to win the game of survival. They're trying to stay alive. But they don't always win the game of survival. Sometimes they lose the game of survival. What does it mean if an animal loses the game of survival? Means they don't stay alive. They die. They could become food for another animal. They might get hunted by people, or they might just die for natural reasons. That is all a part of the way that nature works. But before we jump into our learning material, I want to share some stuff with you. So for example, ta-da, do you see this Junior Ranger badge? So even though you guys are not here in person, you get to earn a digital Junior Ranger badge today. But in order to do that, at the end of the program, in about 45 minutes, when this webinar closes, you're going to have to click a link, and it says take a survey. Click here to take a survey. So make sure you click that link. And then when you do that survey, you complete it, you'll get your digital Junior Ranger badge. And when you get enough of them, you get a real badge sent in the mail. So remember to do that when the program is over today. And then I want to show you this. So this is a Junior Ranger logbook that Junior Rangers get when they come to our programs in person in the parks. And you can see there's the Junior Ranger logo you saw in the advertisement. So whenever you go to state parks or state beaches in person, you can get a Junior Ranger logbook, and you can bring it with you to any new parks that you visit. And today, if you do have one of these already at home, let's say you've been to a park or a beach before and you've got one, today we are going to be basically, normally we would be doing this page. So animal life, that's what we're going to be talking about today. So if you do have this booklet at home, you can open to that page. And then we'll also be sure to take the Junior Ranger Pledge before the end of our program today. Okay? So without further ado, I think we should do a little exploring before we learn the material. Does that sound good? You want to see the park where I work today? Raise your hand if you want to explore with me. Should I pull this phone off the tripod and walk around and see what kind of animals we can find? Oh, wow. 73, 75 of you say, yeah, let's do it. Let's explore. Okay. So it's going to be a little bit bumpy. It's a bumpy ride, so you got to buckle up. But I'm going to flip the camera around, and then we'll just kind of walk around for a few minutes. We'll make some observations. We'll see if we can't find some animals, because then maybe we can Okay. And also, I need a sip of my water. You guys like, this is Big Green. This is my summer water bottle. And I fill it with water and ice every morning because working in the parks, it can get hot. And I want to make sure that I have what I need to survive. Nice and cold. Thanks, Big Green. All right. So let's explore. So Champagne Point State Park is on the shores of a super famous lake, you guys. And we'll walk down here so I can show you the lake. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of Lake Tahoe. Who's heard of Lake Tahoe? Oh, lots of you. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 of you? Yeah, it's a pretty famous lake. And Sugar Pine Point is on the shores of Lake Tahoe, which is right over there. We'll go take a look in just a minute. And it has 2,000 acres of dense forests. Look at all these forests, which is an awesome habitat for some wildlife. Think of some animals that might like to live in a forest. We might see some as we walk along. I've seen some squirrels today, and I've seen some chipmunks. I've seen some robins. So we have mammals, we have birds. There are lots of fish in the lake as well. I'm not seeing any animals quite yet. One animal that we have here at the park, which you can see occasionally, black bears make their home in the forest. And on this grass. All right. Let's see what we can find over here at this view. Here's a nice view of our forest. There's a squirrel. See him sitting there, just hanging out. That's a ground squirrel. We have ground squirrels and we have tree squirrels. All right, let's go. All right, so some words, you guys, that we're going to need to talk about the game of survival. So we're already learning the rules, but and trying to stay alive. And animals do. They're probably looking for worms. Another important we need to learn, or that we need to use to talk about the game of survival, are predator and prey. Raise your hand if you've heard those words before. Predator and prey. Lots of you, about half of you. Those are two words that we use to talk about roles that animals can play. So when an animal is a predator, it means it hunts or eats other animals. And when an animal is prey, it means it can get caught and eaten by the predators. So here's some Tahoe. We've got some geese in the water down here. So we've seen a robin, we've seen a squirrel, we've seen some geese. And then there's people, of course, visitors in the park. All right, so let's start our discussion. So predator and prey are two other words that we're going to use today, and also adaptation. Adaptation is something that a prey animal can have. Physical training. An adaptation is a trait or important. We need So here's what I want you to think about. Think about some of the animals you've seen where you live. Maybe it's a lizard, maybe it's a bird. And I want you to think of one predator that lives near you. What's one animal that you've noticed that you think is a predator? And one animal you've noticed that you think is prey. Think about the animals around where you live. Which one do you think is a predator and which one do you think is prey? Because you can find predator and prey animals in any habitat, whether it's forests in the mountains or even in the city. Meanwhile, I'm going to move back over to my station here and set up so we can talk about the game of survival. All right, Junior Rangers. Okay, I'm gonna flip the camera. So maybe you have identified one predator and one prey animal near where you live. Let's talk about some of the predators we'll find here in this area. I have some pictures here to show you. So the first thing I want to talk about is how predators often struggle a lot more than we know when they try to survive. So oftentimes we think of predators as the animals on top. They're always the winner, the strongest ones. Really, that's not always the case. So first off, predators have to learn how to hunt their prey. It takes time. So from the time they are young animals to when they grow up, they need to learn. They have to practice how to hunt. It's not something they know right away. And then sometimes if they chase their prey, maybe they are are running and running and running, they don't always catch their meal. So sometimes their prey escapes. And then even sometimes predators can become prey for other animals or other predators. So for example, maybe this is a coyote. So sometimes coyote is very young. It can become prey for another coyote or just another predator, like say a bobcat or a mountain lion. So predators do struggle more than we know. This is a coyote. These are predators you can find out here in the Lake Tahoe area. And are there any adaptations that a coyote might have to help win the game of survival? What are some things a coyote has to help him catch his meal, to help him stay alive? I notice he's got really big ears. Why would he need really big ears? For hearing. He needs to listen for his prey, right? A lot of times coyotes like to hunt squirrels, which are scurrying around. They need really good ears. And then they also, if we were to look inside his mouth, they also have sharp teeth because they need to catch their prey with their mouths. They need to eat meat, so they need sharp teeth to do that. Let's look at another predator we have. Here he is. I don't know if you can find it. Can you find that predator? There he is. This is the bobcat. Bobcats are carnivores, meaning they only eat meat. And so he definitely adaptations to help him win the game of survival. I'm going to move here into the shade. Right away, what adaptation do you see that helps a cat blend in? It's not that word. What do you call it when an animal can blend into environment? It's hard to see. It starts with a C. Do you know that word? Camouflage. This bobcat has camouflage. His stripes kind of help him blend into the sticks or environment around him. Why would it be helpful for him to have camouflage? Well, he's got to up on his prey, right? If the prey can't see him, he can have a better chance of catching his meal. Other adaptations this bobcat has? Think of your cat at home. Have you ever played with a cat at home and he scratched you? It's because cats and wild cats have long, sharp claws, which can help him grab his prey. I wouldn't want to be prey for a bobcat or a mountain lion, that's for sure. All right, and then let's look at the last predator. Ooh, look at that. Does anyone know if you know an animal that is? Anyone? A lot of people, it's an eagle, but it's not an eagle. An osprey. An osprey. They're small eagles, but they're similar because both eagles and osprey like to catch something from water. Can you guess? Fish! Look at these sharp talons. They look like fish hooks. That's because they dive and catch. We all know how slippery and fish can be. Osprey have another adaptation that gives these sharp talons to help them catch fish. I'll give you a hint. It's something that they need to see fish from way up high. Because if they, as they glide over the water, they look down and they have to spot fish, which means they need to have really good eyesight. So osprey have very good eyesight so that they can spot fish way up high in the sky. Predators that you might find here in the Lake Tahoe area in the mountains. So predators do struggle more than we know, but they have special adaptations to help their prey. Now, on the flip side, let's talk about prey animals. So prey animals are the animals that are hunted and eaten by predators. And usually we think of them as weaker, maybe they're always losing the game of survival, but in fact, they all have adaptations to help them survive. And let's look at some of the common prey animals found here in the Tahoe area. So this is a golden mantled ground squirrel. And prey animals, well, they both can be super quick and fast, and that's because they need to run and escape from their predators. Just like squirrels are super quick and fast. If you've ever tried to walk a squirrel, run away, or climb a tree, or jump into a hole, in fact, some animals can bite or sting their predators that try to eat them. Sometimes other prey animals can fly away or swim away. But these squirrels have a quick ability to escape, but also I noticed they have big tall ears and big wide eyes. Why would they need those traits? What do you think? Well, they need to be able to keep a lookout. Look how alert the squirrel is. He's looking for danger, right? And not only can they look for danger and listen for danger, but they can also alert other squirrels that live around them. Maybe you've heard squirrels make a cheeping sound. Cheep, cheep, cheep. That's because they're alerting other squirrels that there's danger nearby. You have to dive into your hole and stay alive. These are common sights here in the park. We have a very big squirrel population. All right, and then what about this guy? What is that? It's a toad. And we know it's a toad because it has these bumpy spots on its skin. This is an American toad. And American toads, well, for one, they've got camouflage. Look, he's kind of blending into the mud around him. But they also have some other adaptations to help them win the game of survival. Look at these bumps. What do you think these bumps do on his skin? Well, think about this. Have you ever taken a really bad medicine or a food that you don't like and you spit it out? Like maybe you don't like the taste of cough syrup or something like that. And you're like, bleh, this tastes terrible. Well, that's what these bumps on the toad skin do. They ooze out a really bad tasting liquid. And then when an animal like a coyote tries to eat it, he's going to go, this tastes terrible, and spit it out, which is good for the toad because then he can survive. And then toads, this other cool thing that they can do, they can blow themselves up. And why do you think that would help him? Well, imagine if you were a snake. You tried to swallow that toad. It might be kind of hard. But if he was all blown up like a balloon. Not only does he taste bad, but he's difficult to swallow. We've learned about some of the adaptations that prey animals have to help them survive. And this toad, in fact, even though he is commonly thought to be a prey animal, he's actually a predator himself. What kind of animals might a toad like to eat? Bugs, or even like small fish? Yeah. Some toads can eat like large spiders. So toads can be predators themselves. Very good. All right. So those are some of the common predator and prey animals that you can find here in the Tahoe and the squirrel. Remember them because I'm going to see if you can recall them later. All right. So now I'm going to show you guys some scenario picture. So we've learned about the game of survival, and what's really important to remember about predator and prey animals is they keep each other in balance. So a healthy environment or a healthy habitat has a good number of both predator animals and prey animals, because they can win or lose the game of survival. It just depends. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. But when there are too many predators, that can affect the number of prey animals. Or when there are not enough predators, that can also have an effect on the number of prey animals. And we're going to learn how that balance can change with different scenarios that I have here on some pictures. And then also sometimes humans can play a role in changing the balance of predator and prey. So for example, sometimes humans hunt animals, or sometimes they poison them if they don't want them around in a certain habitat. And so humans can sometimes have negative impact on that balance of predator and prey animals. So let's take a look at, let me find my first picture. All right. So normally the way this game works in person is I lay out some pictures, and then the junior rangers have to pick out which one describes or matches the description that I give them. So I'll show you the pictures that I have here. So you'll notice some coyotes and some squirrels, and wherever you see a red X, that means that animal has died. Okay, so this is the first picture. I'm going to show you three. This is the second picture. I see only squirrels. And then this is the third picture. And this one I see coyotes, squirrels, and snakes. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a description, and you're going to guess 1, 2, or 3. Okay, so in the first scenario, I have to read it. I decide to poison the squirrel population because I don't like the holes that they dig in the park. How do you think that would affect the squirrels and their predators? So I'll read it again. I decide to poison the squirrels because I don't like the holes that they dig in the park. How do you think that would affect the squirrels and their predators? Raise your hand if you think you have an idea. Ah, there's an ant in my pant, you guys. Okay, lots of you think you have an idea. Well, if you guessed number 1, you would be right. And let's look at why that is. So these red X's mean the squirrels have died. And that's because, remember, I don't like the holes they dig, so I decide to poison them. But that's not good, because if the squirrels become poisoned and die, any predators that eat the poisoned squirrels will also become poisoned. And then look, they also die. So in this situation, I have had a negative impact on both the squirrels and the coyotes. I didn't even think about the coyotes when I decided to poison the squirrels, but in fact, I poisoned the coyotes as well. And this is something that happens in real life, which is why it's generally not a very good thing to put out poison, say for rats, because the animals that eat the poisoned rats can also become poisoned. So that's why sometimes people choose to use traps instead, because traps don't cause poisoning of predators. All right, are you ready for the next situation? So what if, okay, I decide to bring a species of snake from Arizona into this park here, and that species of snake survives by eating squirrels. How would that affect the coyote population? So if I bring a species of snake from Arizona that eats squirrels, how would that affect the coyote population? So do you remember which picture that was? Let's take a look. It was the third one. So here's those snakes I decided to bring from Arizona, but they need to eat squirrels. So the snakes are like, ooh, I like these squirrels over here. So look, they eat them. The snakes survive. But that means there's not food left for the coyote. The coyote does not have a meal to eat because the snakes have eaten all the available squirrels. You know, maybe this squirrel gets away. So what happened to the coyote? He died. And so this snake does not belong here in this park. And sometimes this happens in real life too. Humans bring species to a new habitat from a different habitat, and then it can affect the animals that do belong there, just like we see in this situation here. All right, and let's talk about the last situation. Are you ready? So what if I decide to hunt all of the coyotes in the park? They're all gone. How would that affect the squirrel population? So if I hunt all the coyotes in the park, how would that affect the squirrel population? Think about it. Do you remember which picture matches this situation? It was this one. So why has this happened? Why are there so many squirrels? Well, that's because there's no predators to keep the numbers down. Remember how we talked about balance? So if there's no predators for the squirrels, they're just gonna reproduce like crazy. And now there's like way too many squirrels. But we also see some squirrels that have died because over time, if there's a lot of squirrels, they're all gonna eat the squirrel food. And eventually maybe some of that squirrel food will decrease and some of the squirrels will start to die. So you can see how when we remove predators from a habitat, it can actually cause a change in the number of prey animals. It can go up. And sometimes if there's too many, they might start to deplete their natural food source. And then we see some of them die out. All right, very good. And finally, let's take a look at a healthy balance of predator and prey. Ta-da! So this is a healthy picture because we have some predators and they have meals to eat. These prey animals have been eaten, but some prey animals are surviving. And so we have a healthy balance of predators and prey. So did you think about some predator and prey animals you can find where you live? I wonder what they are. Maybe you have toads where you live, or maybe you have coyotes. Those are a common animal in cities and in wild areas. Or maybe you have squirrels. Sometimes you can think even smaller. What about birds and insects? Insects can be prey animals too. Or you can think bigger, like mountain lions and deer. Mountain lions and deer are a predator and prey pair that you often hear about because mountain lions like to eat deer. And there are lots of deer throughout California. All right, so I want you to think about as we conclude, what does it mean for a predator or prey to win and lose the game of survival? So when predators win the game of survival, it means they catch a meal and they live another day. Sometimes prey animals lose that game, meaning they get eaten. But we know that animals have adaptations to help them escape, right? They can run or fly or swim away, or sometimes prey animals can bite or sting or attack back. Think about porcupines. Porcupines are an animal that have a special defense system. Let's take a look. I have my tub of animals here. So porcupines have those special quills. These are soft, but a real porcupine has sharp quills to protect his body from getting eaten by a predator. Oh, look, here's my mountain lion. And here's a little bobcat. Look, see him, remember his camouflage helped him blend in. And what about, a snowshoe hare. Snowshoe hares also have camouflage. They're white, they can blend into the snow, and exceptionally fast. They can escape. Awesome. All right, so if you have your logbook, and even if you don't have your logbook, this is what you're gonna do. So on the page that says Animal Life, for you, I'm going to choose an animal living in the park that we learned about, and then write down clues about the animal. And I'm going to ask you to guess what it is. So I'm going to give you some clues about one of the animals we learned about. You're going to see if you remember what it is. Okay, here's your clues. I am a predator. I have very good eyesight, and I can fly. Those are your 3 clues. I'm a predator, I have very good eyesight, and I can fly. Raise your hand if you remember. 40, 50, 60, 70 of you. Well, if you guessed osprey, you're correct. Osprey was the animal. Okay, and I'm going to give you another one. I am small. Let's see, I am small. I often prey for bigger animals. And I live in groups. I'm small, I often prey for other animals, and I live in groups. You remember what it is? A squirrel. A squirrel. So we know that squirrels, though, they can escape by alerting other squirrels to danger and run and dive inside their holes. There might be some squirrel holes around here. All right, well, I think that's about all that I want to share with you today, folks. But I would love to do the Junior Ranger Pledge with you now. And then remember, when the Zoom webinar ends, you need to click the link for the survey so you can get your digital badge. So let me open up to the Junior Ranger Pledge. This is what I'm about to read to you, okay? So the Junior Ranger Pledge goes like this. I promise to, and you can repeat after me. I promise to treat the earth and all living things with care and respect. Be thoughtful about what I do and how it affects others, and learn about the importance of nature and our heritage. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today as Junior Rangers, virtual Junior Rangers from wherever you are. And again, my name is Stephanie, and today we visited Sugar Pine Point State Park, and we learned all about the game of survival. We learned about predator and prey animals and how they keep each other in balance. So thank you for joining us on this virtual Junior Ranger experiment. The survey that you click will help us make it better, because this is new for us, just like it's new for you. So make sure you follow the link when the Zoom webinar ends, and give yourselves a round of applause. Yay. Thank you for being awesome Junior Rangers, friends, and we hope to see you in our state parks and state beaches soon. All right, you guys have a great day. Bye.